what I want you to tell me in the comments is, what is your favorite like letter building activity? Do your kiddos love Play-Doh? What do they love? Like, what are all the things? What we're gonna do is I'm gonna go through just some ideas I have that you can use anytime during the year, and you can just like switch out manipulatives based on your theme. But you can use them for like a morning table time activity. That's what I use my letter mats and letter building activities for a lot, is morning table time. So when the kids come in and there's parents dropping off and it's kind of that calm chaos in the morning, I have letter mats on the table usually sometimes, and the kiddos are making letters and they're talking about letters, they're talking about letter sounds. And they can do those independently once they get used to how to use letter mats in the classroom. So, and I have a ton in my TPT store, so there's tons of links at the top, so everything you need is up there. And let's just jump right in. So, what is a letter mat, and then why do we do them, right? So these are little letter mats. These are actually free ones in the Pocket of Preschool Facebook group. Letter mats are basically just a mat, and you can build a letter on it. So I keep some on book rings. I keep some in binders, which I'll show you in a minute. But usually if I have them for table time, I unclip them and I literally just put them in the middle of the table. And then I put like little trays of manipulatives out. Like I'll put like 3 or 4 of these little things of manipulatives based on our theme. So if we're doing like, maybe we're doing I don't know, something with water, you can put out these blue gems are really fun, and they can build letters on the mat. So basically all they're doing is taking the little gems or mini erasers or whatever it is, and they are building these letters. So, and they're basically like, you know, making the letter with that. Now, what else I love about letter mats is if you laminate them, you can also use them for handwriting. So they can trace the letter, and they can build it. So it's kind of like a twofer, right? So you get some handwriting practice in, and you get some fine motor work. And why on earth do we build letters? We use letter mats in the classroom. One, letter mats are great for building fine motor and hand-eye coordination, all of those skills. Because usually when you're building letters, you're using small objects. And when you're using small objects, they have to manipulate them with their fingers, whether you're using gems or maybe some kind of fun little bead, or these are some fun mini erasers. Again, when they have to pick them up and place them on the mat to make the letter, they are using all of those fine motor muscles. Maybe you're using small little rocks. Again, these are from the Dollar Tree in the floral section. So again, they're just picking them up and making them with using those little itty bitty fingers. And they have to place them on the mat, so now you're getting hand-eye coordination if they're crossing the midline. So you're getting a lot of skills. You're building a lot of skills all in one. Plus, they're learning letters. And we all know that kids need to be immersed in letters. You need to have letters all over your classroom, lots of environmental print, and you need to be doing tons and tons and tons of letter activities, so that way they can start to remember what they look like and remember the names of the letters, and then eventually they can, we can work on the sounds and all of that. But all of those things you're doing while you're using letter mat. And I know you're thinking, well, my kiddos are gonna pick one up and they're not gonna make it correctly. And that's okay at first. If you notice kiddos are making a letter incorrectly at first, that's a really great way to just write a reflection in your planning page and say, hey, I need to work on, or we need to do a small group on how to make the letter E, or starting from the top and going down. So even though they're using these letter mats for maybe table time and you're not right there, you can glance over really quick and see what letters they're struggling with writing or knowing the names of, and you can then tailor your small groups and your circle times and your center activities to meet the needs of that. Or maybe you're going to do a fine motor journal on that letter later that day or in the next week or whenever. So these letter mats, like I said, these are free in the Pocket of Preschool Facebook group. So if you haven't joined yet, the link is at the top of this post. Go over and join, and then they're in the files section. And then I will, I'm still working on the nursery rhyme blog post. I'm going to finish that up tonight. And then I'm going to put all of these ideas in one blog post, and I will link these letter mats there as well, so you kind of have them in a different spot. And these are great because they're black and white. They're not in color, so you can print them on colored paper or print them on white paper. You can send these home with your kiddos, like in a learning bag, or maybe you do like learning backpacks or homework or something like that. You can do that and send these home with your kiddos. And this is literally all I do is I just put them back on the ring, and it's more to, I won't do it right now, but just to keep them organized, because I'll show you how I kind of have them in a minute. So those are the free ones, so make sure you grab those. If your kiddos are struggling, let's say they're making these letters and they're struggling erasing, because we all know, like if you buy like the off-brand dry erase markers, or if they get, they start drying out, it's kind of tricky to erase, and some kiddos just don't have that fine motor strength to erase off of here. So what you can do is my kind of little trick for that is I'll put the letter mats out, and you guys know I love these mini clipboards, which you can get on Amazon or probably Office Max has them. They're like $1 a piece or cheaper on Amazon, and you just cut paper in half. But put these letter mats in the middle of the table. They can pick a letter mat. So like I'm a kiddo. They pick a letter mat. They make the letter with whatever you have out. And then you can just have like buckets of markers out. And then they can make that letter on their little mini clipboard. And then they can take this home. You can keep it for their assessment, whatever you need to do. If there's just scribbling the letters, that's okay too, because we all know that scribbling leads to all of those other things, right? If they are just doing this, they're just going C, well then you need to work on, starting making those like long lines and things like that, just working on making those different types of lines. But your kiddos, even if they're like 3 and they're starting to scribble, they can still build the letter mats, which is another reason why I love letter mats, because even 3-year-olds can build letters even if they're not ready to write them. So letter mats are even better for those itty bitties, right? Because they're not ready to write yet, but you still want them to try. But yeah, so these are the free letter mats, like I said. And then I'm going to show you kind of how I organize them, and I'll show you some other fun ways to build letters. So I have these tubs from Lakeshore. These are just 2 of the tubs I have, and I have them above my cubbies, my kid cubbies, and these are all letter mats, all different kinds. Oh, I forgot to tell you something. I'll tell you in 1 minute. So what I do is how I keep them is I either keep them in baggies, because I will put these on the table, or I keep a book ring in them, or you can also make them like a binder or put them in a binder. So that way maybe you're going to put these out with, you can put these in your, like these are those big Duplo letter mats. These are in my TBT store. So you can literally take these mats and put them in the tub of Duplo. So that way maybe they're building and maybe they want to make some letters while they're doing that. And then all of my letter mats come with they come with like a worksheet to go with them. So if you want them to make the letter mat and then make the letters on the mat, and then they can write them for handwriting on the worksheet, that they can totally do that too. But I have all of these in here, unless, like I said, like I keep some of them in tubs. So like these are my geo board, and all of them come, I think most of them come in color and in black and white. So these you would use for geo boards, and you can literally stick these in the side and put them on your shelf. Now, do they have to use these? Absolutely not. Are they more likely to possibly pick this up and make a couple while they're just playing with geo boards? Yes. But if you don't have them in here, then that learning opportunity is gone, right? So it's always fun to stick just the letter mats in with your different manipulatives, just so they have that as an option. Or you can like put these, sorry, it's so loud. You can put these in the library center or your writing center, and this can be their part of their fine motor or their letter building center time. So I told you guys that if it's hard for them to dry erase, I forgot to tell you this. You can also use these dry erase pockets. So you can always put any of the mats in a dry erase pocket. This isn't a good example. Hold on. Let me see one. Like, let's just say you want them to do the worksheet. You can take this worksheet, and so that way they're building the letter, and then once they build it, they can, it's stuck. Then they can trace it on this dry erase board or dry erase pocket, and then these are super simple to erase. So much simpler. So if your kids are struggling to erase on the mat, then plop them in the dry erase board, or you can also too, like plop, I'm not gonna do it because it'll take, because I guess there's a whole bunch of static, but you could put some of these inside of here, like just print out the full page and put one page in here and just have these different pages all around the table, and then like these kiddos would be building R, A, and F, and you can have manipulatives out and they can build the letters that way too in the dry erase pocket, if that's what works better for your kiddos or your classroom, or maybe you want to mix it up and do something different. So that's always fun too. So if you have never had letter mats, these are my favorite letter mat. You know why? Because you can use them with any manipulative, so you can switch it out and use them for different themes. And again, comes in color and black and white. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna build the letter on top, and this has the long and the short. And then you can see they have the sounds and they have the letter in a different color, and then they have the option, so they can either finger trace too if you want them to, or they can trace with the dry erase, and then they can erase after they build and after they build it, and then they trace it, and then they can put it back in the middle and get a new one. So let me give you some ideas on different things you can use to build letters. Like I told you about the little jewels. These are from the Dollar Tree. So I have like a whole big tray of ideas for you guys. Beads are really fun. So obviously for a 3-year-old, these would be frustrating because they're kind of small. But these would be perfect for pre-K or kindergarten kiddos. Maybe you're doing a space theme and they can just line up these different shaped beads. A lot of time, like the Dollar Tree has different shaped beads, so that's really fun. And these little cups, you guys, are in like the fancy section at the Dollar Tree. So they're great for like tiny manipulatives. You can also use like any kind of like gem or like sparkly thing you have. These are this is like from the craft section at Michael's. You can use any themed mini eraser. So if you're doing dinosaurs and you have a whole bunch of dinosaur mini erasers, have them build with the dinosaurs. If you have, maybe it's spring and you have spring mini erasers, use the spring. This is just a whole bunch of different kind of like, just a whole bunch of random mini erasers I have in here. And you can totally put that out too on the table. You can use rocks. A lot of kiddos who love nature and love things that are outside love using rocks or sticks. So those are fun too. Sounds silly, but these kiddos love it, is building letters with like the googly eyes. So they just take the eyes and then they build the letter. Again, it doesn't have to match your theme or what season it is. Sometimes you just want to put something out that's fun and different to kind of spark their imagination or spark their interest. So that's fun. Now this one has always a favorite in my classroom. So these are like a magnetic bingo chip. So they build, and I use these for so many things, you guys. You can use them for math games or like anything where they have to like cover up things. And because I'll show you, once they build the letter, then you take a magnet wand and you can clear it to erase the letter. So it's even more fun to build with these little magnet chips. You can get them at the Dollar Tree. Sometimes Walmart has them like in the party section. So magnetic bingo chips are fun. But one thing you have to be careful though about the magnetic ones is if you have a kiddo who's ever had like a heart who has a pacemaker in, make sure you don't use magnets with him or her or in the classroom that year. So buttons are really, really fun too. So they can just take any manipulative you know your kiddos love, and they can build the letters with that manipulative. And look at this. They have him pick it up using those little baby muscles, put it down, and then they have to clear their board. So look, they're using their muscles, using their whole hand to kind of grab all of them to clear their board. So again, these are my TBT store, these full page ones. So if you don't have any, I would say these would be like the mats to get first because they're great for any manipulative, and you can also use them with Play-Doh. And I'll tell you my trick too for managing, because we use Play-Doh a lot in my classroom. I have literally a tub of Play-Doh at all times. It's like in the shelf underneath my letter mats. And that way, if we're doing some letter building, I always usually have Play-Doh out as an option, and they can roll the snake to make the Play-Doh. Or some kiddos love to do this too. I don't know if you've ever seen kiddos do this. They'll like pinch them off and they kind of like smash it to make the Play-Doh, which is great because now they're pinching, pulling, and then smashing. So it's just a different fine motor skill than obviously just rolling. And if your kiddos like are 3 and or maybe somebody new has come into your classroom, you might want to do a small group just on how to make Play-Doh snakes, which it sounds so silly, right? Like, sounds like a simple skill, but if a kiddo hasn't played with Play-Doh a lot, they're not going to know how to manipulate this to make a snake. So I always say make a ball, and we practice rolling it with both of our hands or rolling it on the table, and then they have to roll back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And then they can just keep going with their fingers. And you can see both of my hands are now moving at the same time. So that's another skill of for them while they're doing that Play-Doh too. So they can then roll the snake, or I let them smash it. Whatever they want to do, as long as they're making the letter. And I always have them say, okay, when you're finished, tell your friend, or you can show your friend. And we practice giving compliments like, oh, I love, like, great job, Billy, or whatever, their name is. So that way they can kind of like show off their work. So I always just have this, and then I just put it literally at the end of the table and with the letter mats out, and there might be some manipulatives, and then they can grab the Play-Doh, find a spot, and, I forgot to tell you this. So another fun thing to do is kind of combine. So let's say they smashed the B to make the letter B. You can also then add manipulatives to make it kind of another way. So that way now they're smashing and making the letter another way, and when they're pulling it apart, like, don't worry, like, the Play-Doh doesn't really get stuck in it, not really. So look. So if you're worried about your manipulatives getting dirty, and like mini erasers, you can totally stick in Play-Doh too. They're fine. They're all clean. I let my kiddos do pony beads too in Play-Doh. And yes, they are going to get stuck in the middle sometimes. But what you can do is I have a cup of pony beads that we use just for Play-Doh. And then once the Play-Doh dries, it falls out of the middle. So just keep a set of beads that are specially for your Play-Doh. So you can use Play-Doh, manipulatives, either or. Let the kiddos pick. It's all when you let kiddos pick or let them decide kind of what or how they want to make the letter. Like, give them some options. They'll be more engaged because then you give them that choice. So these letter mats are fun, and again, it comes with a worksheet as well. So if you want to do that. Another favorite my kiddos love are the stick letter mats. So these, and all the letter mats, I tried to make them a little bit different. So this one is A, and then a lot of these are my stem, I can build drawers. So they have, each one has like manipulatives in it. These drawers are from Michael's, and I literally just take this, and then I have a whole bunch of popsicle sticks in here. Oh, there's some cubes in there too. But what they're gonna do then is they can take, I can literally just put this out on the table or just sprinkle them in the middle, and then they can use the popsicle sticks to make the letter mat. And you can either use these like dowel rods to make the short ones. I don't know if you guys can see that. So these are like a shorter, they're kind of a half the size for the little shorter lines on the letters. Or if you go to the craft section at Michael's or go on Amazon, there's like half-size craft sticks you can use. Or there's like a matchstick size craft stick that are perfect for making those short little lines. And then they can say it alligator, and then they can trace it and then erase, and then they can start again. So then you're getting them talking about the letter, they're talking about the sound, and then they're tracing. So you have tons and tons of skills all at once. And so these letter mats again come in the uppercase or lowercase. So you pick what works best for your kiddos. Maybe you, I don't do letter of the week. I never have in my classroom, but if you do letter of the week, you can always just print out that letter that you're doing that week and put that letter out on the table with the craft sticks or whatever manipulative the letter mat is for, and you can do that too. Another fun letter mat are these big dot the letter ones. So you can use these two ways. So you can print them on colored paper, or they can literally use dot markers or dot stickers, and then they can dot the letter. And then usually when they're finished, I always have them say the letter, say the icon, and then try and say that sound, and then that way we're getting, again, more skills in at once. And if you don't want to use them as a worksheet with the letter dot markers, you can always use manipulatives for these again, because these little dots are perfect for mini erasers. They're the perfect size. You can use them with bingo markers. You can use them with gems. The perfect size. So that way they're, again, just making that letter, talking about the letter name, talking about the letter sound. And yeah, one thing too, if you, let's say your kiddos are they're doing the letter mats and they're kind of not talking to each other and they're not talking about the letters, just say, oh, does anybody have, do you have a letter mat with your name? Is that letter in your name? And once you get them talking about their name and the letter mats, you'll hear that conversation explode, because now you're making that conversation about them. And when anything is about them, they are much more excited, because then they're going to look at their friend's letter mat and go, oh, you have an E, or oh, I have that letter in my name. And maybe they might not know that letter. They'll say, oh, you have an E. You know, like, that's the E letter mat. You have an E in your name. It's in the middle of your name, or it's at the beginning, or it's at the end. So if they're not talking, that's a really great way to kind of spark conversation. Just get them talking about their names. You can also put their name mats, or if you have like those name cards, put those out on the table too. So that way they can just notice and compare letters, because the alphabet, these letters look so similar. Like a W and an M, they look so similar, right? Especially to a little guy or a little girl who is just learning all these letters, and they have to learn all the uppercase and all the lowercase, and all these letters are made up of the same different types of lines, and they're all just a little bit different. So by doing these letter mats, they're also developing that visual discrimination of noticing that, oh, This one is an M because it goes up, down, and then this one is a W because it goes down, up, up. So that's another thing they're working on when they're doing letter mats. So let me show you some more letter mats. So if your kiddos love cube blocks, like if you have some little builders in your class, these are perfect. So you can either use these cube mats or the other kind of cube connector mat. Totally up to you, whatever you want to do. And these do have covers, that way if you want to like bind them in a book or put them in a binder, you totally can. These are great too to use as like a quiet activity if you have to have like some downtime, or maybe you have a kiddo who doesn't sleep. These would be great for them. So these you can do two ways. So this is obviously lowercase a, so they can either put the blocks on them, which would be the easier way to do it, or they can connect the blocks, which then requires some problem solving skill. Why do I have the broken one? There we go. So that way they have to problem solve and figure out how to put it together to make it connect. Now, all the letter won't connect because just the way some of the letters are formed. You know, like A isn't A square, so this one would be like a separate piece. But that way they have to make part of it connect and part of it not. And then again, they say A, ant, and then they can trace it. So two ways to use these letter mats. And then these come in, if you get these letter mats for the cube blocks, they come in uppercase and in lowercase. And there is a letter mat bundle. So if your kiddos are loving letter mats, or maybe you want to add letter mats to your day, you can totally do that and just grab the bundle, and it's at a discount too. So you can do that. There also, I think these are probably my kiddos' favorite, the pattern block letter mats. So they make the letter with the pattern block, and then B, B, ball, B, 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 B. You can also have them say the sound or the letter at the bottom, and then again they can finger trace, or they can just trace it with that dry erase marker. And now if they're using pattern blocks, they're also working on that spatial sense because they have to combine these shapes to make something, and they're obviously like having to line them up, which is again more visual discrimination, all kinds of skills. So pattern block mats are a really, really fun one. They come in uppercase, or here's a set of the lowercase. So you can see all of those. Really fun. Oh, I gave you like the I and the L. Here's the lowercase y. There's another example for you. And then, so some of the other ones. Oh, and there's Play-Doh mats. So if your kiddos love Play-Doh, these are perfect just to stick in your Play-Doh center. So they can make the A is for apple, and then there's the whole alphabet at the bottom. So they can find that letter, and uppercase is at the top and lowercase is at the bottom. So these are fun to put in your Play-Doh or your art center. And again, just because you have them in the tub doesn't mean they have to do them, but that option is there for them to do that. And then we have Lego cards. So if you have little builders, these are perfect. I suggest getting these like brick plate mats. These are just from the dollar store. And the dollar store has those off-brand Legos. But I love those sets because they have a lot of the just the square pieces, because they don't have all those like weird block shapes. So the Lego mats have two options. So you either can do just the uppercase letter. Oh, that one's upside down. Like T turtle tools, or you can do both of them. And then you can either, again, build it on the mat, because these fit, that's a 3. These fit perfect on the mat, or you can have them build the letter on your base plate next to your letter mat. So it's up to you what you want to do. They can either place them on the mat, or they can build on the Lego plate, which would be a higher level, right? So you can do either or. And again, these are great for a fine motor center. If you're in kindergarten and your kiddos are struggling with fine motor, if maybe you're a mom that's watching, these are perfect for what can you do to get your kids ready for writing? What can you do to get, people always ask me, what can you do to get your kids ready to write? What can we do to make their pencil grasp stronger? All of these things, because all of this is fine motor work, and I love that it's fine motor work, but it's also, you're sneaking in a whole bunch of literacy because you have letters. Oh, I forgot to tell you, all of my letter mats, if you want them in number mats, I also have a whole number mat bundle, so that is an option for you too. Okay, now, this is probably my kids' favorite way to make letters. So these are, they're like a little, I call them like the little dotted, I think. So they can either do two things. You can, oh, I'll tell you this first, and then I'll tell you the other one. So these are just some golf tees that you can get at like Walmart, wherever. So this is just some of that thick cardboard. So if you're getting some packaging in and you have thick cardboard, this is perfect. You just take a hammer, or if you don't have plastic hammers because your kids break them, which always happens in my block center, just buy some wooden mallets on Amazon, and then they can tap, 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 and they can then tap to make the letter. Now, if you don't have this kind of cardboard, it's spring, so it's the perfect time. Go grab some of these. They're like a garden knee mat. My little guys over there. You can grab these, they're just like a garden kneeling mat, and look, they work just as well. So, you do use what supplies you have in your classroom, and then look at this, they're hammering, they're making letters. Again, my kiddos, when they would see that they could hammer letters or numbers, because I also have a number set, when they saw this out for table time, they would be so excited to come in and come to school. And they'd be like, bye, Mom. And they would rush over the table because they would be hammering. Now, are your kiddos just going to hammer around it? Absolutely. They're totally going to do that. Are they going to try and put them really, really close together? Absolutely. But are they still noticing, talking about building those fine motor muscles and talking about letters? Yes. So that's the ultimate goal, right? So, because we all know their attention span's tiny, right? Because they're tiny. So they're totally gonna put them all over, and that's okay. They're still noticing, looking at, talking about letters, and building all of those fine motor muscles. And look, to pull these out, it's not hard, but they still have to grab them with those fine motor muscles. Again, look, developing that pincer muscle to strengthen that, so that way when they go to write, they have super strong hands. Because when they go to write later and they're writing stories or they're writing words, we don't want their hands to be tired. We want them to have strong hands. That way they can focus on those letters. So when our kiddos go to write, we want them not to be struggling with actually forming the letter. We want them to have that be the easy part. That motor memory is there, and they are good. They are making those letters with ease. We want them to be able to use all of their brain power on how to sound out the word, or remember the sight word, or whatever it may be, or remember how to write their complete sentence or punctuation or whatever it may be. Those are some letter mat options. So you can also use these letter mats. You can also use them to Q-tip paint. So just grab, I have it right here. So we're kind of going to transition to the art part of our letter mat talk. So I like to use cupcake pans. If you don't want to clean them, which I should have done this, I was using this for something else earlier, but put a cupcake liner or the silicone liners in, or the throwaway ones in, and then you just throw away the cupcake liner, throw that in the trash, and then you don't have to wash the pan like I'm gonna have to. So you just take some Q-tips and you just put them in, and what they're gonna do is they're going to dot the letter. And look how much hand-eye coordination that takes. It takes a lot of focus. And now they are making the letter because they're making the little dots. And these come 4 to a page, so you can print off, and they can do like a whole page, or you can have a whole bunch of these in the middle of the, or like in a basket, and they can pick which letter they want to do, or maybe you're doing letter of the week, you can have them do that letter that week, and they can write their name and put it wherever to dry. So that's a fun idea for the little itty bitty letter dot. Okay, I'm gonna move my step, hold on. So now, you can also, instead of just building letters with manipulatives, you can also build letters kind of like in a collage style. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about with that. So, you basically just write a letter, and then they put collage materials on it to cover the letter or to make the letter. And then if you want, after they do that, what I like to do is have them write the letter in or all around the collage. So that way now they're collage, they make the letter with a collage, and then they get to practice the letter all around it. So now this is really a really fun handwriting page, so you don't have to have a worksheet. And these make really cute bulletin boards. You can have, everybody always asks me like, how do I know what letters to do with my kiddos? So I observe them, and I see when they're writing their name for sign-in in the morning, or maybe when they're doing all the letter mats. We talk about and we go over how to make the letter strokes. So you can have everybody do the same letter if they're struggling with one. So you can say, okay, I'm gonna show you guys how to make a J, and you can have them write it on the table. You can have them skywrite it. I always have them writing it on the table though, because they have that input when they're pushing on the table. So you can say, okay, you're gonna go down and hook, line across. So that's how you make an uppercase J. And then, okay, everybody, you guys do it. Ready? Down and hook, straight line across. And then talk about how you make the lowercase J. And either you can make the letter on all of their pages, or they can write it. It's up to you. Depends on your kiddos and what you want to do. Or maybe you want to differentiate and you want to give everybody the first letter in their name that day. Or a letter that they're struggling with. Because maybe it's a letter in their name that's tricky. Maybe it's a letter that you've just noticed when they're writing, or when they're writing, maybe they're writing the word mom all the time and they're struggling with letter M, or whatever they need, you can do. So you can have everybody the same letter, everybody do a different letter, do a letter in their name, do a random letter, whatever you guys want to do. So one way is to just do these like paper squares. And then what I do, so in my closet, so that way I don't have to prep things a lot, what I would do is I literally pulled these out of my art closet, you guys. So I have, you can tell I don't have any left, so I would have to cut some more of these. These are just little paper squares I have cut, and then I have them in a bowl. Sometimes I also keep them in a muffin tin, and they're just literally cut paper. These are by color. These are just in a bucket. You do you. So I have these always in a bucket in my closet, and I always have, usually I have 4 of each, so that way I can have them all the way down the table so the kids aren't reaching and pulling, and that way as a management piece it's easier, so I can just grab these out of my bucket in my closet, and I know these are always prepped. I also have tissue paper squares. Now I just buy a chunk of tissue paper at Target, and I cut strips and I just make little squares. So you can tell they're not all the same. They're all different little squares, but they're gorgeous, they're colorful, and it's cheaper that way. And I don't have to, I love the little paper squares that you get from like the, like you buy the pre-cut paper squares, but they always stick together. At least the ones I get stick together. I also have sequins. Maybe can you see them? So for a fun collage art, I also keep little strips of paper. A lot of these is usually from when I'm prepping things. I'll stick all the little paper scraps in here, because then I'll let the kiddos cut their own little scraps for the letter collage or whatever collage we're doing. So I just throw those in there, so that way these are kind of always prepped. And then I always have these like foam letter stickers, because these are really fun to do for a collage too. So that way, again, things are prepped. I don't have to prep another thing in my closet or like another thing for just for one lesson. They're always up there because we're always doing stuff like this. Stickers are another fun one. You can tell this kiddo made his own A, and then he just used up the rest of his stickers all around it. If you want them to as well, make their own letters, you can always write it in pencil and then have them trace it. So that way, it's not your work completely, but you're giving them the proper formation. So you can write it in pencil and then they can trace it in marker and then collage the letters. That's another fun way to do it. You can also use washi tape. So put some washi tape out on the table, and then what they're gonna do is they're just gonna cut, we're gonna pretend I have scissors, just cut little pieces, and they can use the little pieces to make the letter, the collage letter. I usually, so Michael's used to have washi tape like in buckets, and they were like $5 for $1 or something. That's where I used to get mine. Dollar Tree has it too. Another fun one are these, if you don't want to use like this paint because it gets wet and you have to make it dry, try using paint sticks because they dry really fast. Like they could literally make a letter like this, but with the paint sticks, and you can have them put it in their cubby, and in like 5 minutes it's dry. So these are a great alternative if you don't want to use paint and you don't want the mess. Still use paint, but without the mess. It's awesome. These are the Quick Sticks. Those are the brand I like. I know like Michael's has them too, and like Lakeshore has them. So paint sticks are fun. And then one year, my kiddos, we made an ABC book, and they each picked a letter. And you can tell this is like Comic Sans, so I made this a while ago with my kiddos. And I had these just on the table as a morning activity, and they did collage, and then I laminated them. And I had a whole bunch of different materials out on the table. So I had like stickers and tissue paper, the little squares. A lot of them like the stickers. So then we just had our little own collage ABC book. Looking back, I should have put the lowercase in there, but you know, it's all right. They loved it. They had a blast. It's just super simple, and they loved it. And then we had a class book that they made, a class alphabet book that they made, and it was super simple to do. Also, if you want to kind of focus in, especially I know it's spring, a lot of our pre-K kiddos are going to kindergarten. Every spring, I would always do my letter book, and we would do, every day we would do one page, and then let me show you what it is. So it's just basically one letter, and I would model it first on a dry erase board at the table, and then they would do it, and we would write the letter different ways each day, so it wouldn't get boring. And then I would also have out my sound tub. These are from Lakeshore. You can make your own, or just have pictures out too. So like, let's say we did Q, wherever it is. I would say, okay, today we're gonna do the letter Q, and I would say, what sound does Q make? And we would talk about the letter sounds, and I would pull out the different Q things, and then I would just put those in the middle of the table, and then we would make that letter that day. So that way it was a little bit more, more directed. It was more like a handwriting. Well, it was handwriting, or unless like Q, nobody was really having issues with Q, so we did yarn. So letters that they had trouble with that were tricky, I always used some kind of writing utensil. So maybe we did colored pencils, and we did rainbow write it. So that way they have to trace it with one color and do all the letters in one color, and then they get a different color and they trace it with all the other colors. And I want to say this, so this is in my TPT store. I want to say it's like, it's not very expensive. I can't remember, like $2 or $3 maybe. And I have a whole bunch of different ideas of different ways you can make the different letters. Now, if you want it to be, if you want to use like a writing utensil every day, like totally go for it. There are tons of different writing utensils you can use. So like these, I love all the different Crayola crayons that they make right now, because like these are the metallic ones. So they're like sparkly. I know there's like neon ones, and I don't know, the multicultural ones would be fun to use. So you could even put out different crayons each day. You could put out pens, smelling markers, skinny markers, highlighters, chalk. Really, there's tons and tons of things you could do besides like using a marker every day, because that gets boring. This one we'd used, we finger painted the letter B. You can use Q-tip paint. You can use the quick sticks. We did like a ribbon collage on that one. This was like a glitter. And this was my book, as you can see. So I would always model it first, and then they would do it. This one was hole punches. They would trace it with glue, and then they got a hole punch and would hole punch it. And then what we would do was I would just have trays. Hold on. So I would just have like whatever trays you have for your writing center out. I would just put I would have these out, and I would say like put 3 books on these, and then put them on the drying rack to dry. And then later the next morning, I would go through and grab all of them off since they were dry. But yeah, so that if you want a more refined way to build letters, especially since it's kiddos are getting ready to like go to kindergarten, we want them to make sure they're writing the letter the correct way. These letter books, doing 1 letter a day. And again, I didn't do letter of the week, so I just did 1 letter a day. We went in order. And then we always talked about the letter sound it made too, in correlation. So, yes. So, the moral of the story is you can totally have fun building letters in so many fun ways, and you don't have to have the worksheet. Now, do I pair a lot of these activities with a worksheet? Absolutely. Do I pair a lot of them with writing the letter? Totally. But I always have them doing something to build it or to make it first, and then I pair it with the paper pencil. So, all right. Well, I hope you guys got a ton of ideas. So I hope you guys have a great night. And you guys have an amazing night. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will talk to you soon.